All right, I'm going to go off script here and do things differently than the written instructions, at least order of operations wise, because it makes more sense to me. You can see here, two of these are actually longer, one of them shorter. We're not going to change this one. We're going to go ahead and leave it this height, but we want to add this footing onto the bottom of it. So I'm going to make a rectangle. I'm just going to roughly draw the shape. And now I'm going to type move. I'm going to pick the object. And I want to make sure midpoint is on because I want to find the midpoint of this. Oh, never mind. Let me click Control Z on that. Or Control and uncheck this. So now I'm saying, okay, this is the one I want to do. I hit enter. I find the midpoint. And now I come down and find this midpoint. So that's evenly spaced. Now I'm going to come in here to my 3D version. And I'm going to do something called sweep. And I'm going to use sweep 1. I'm going to pick the edge is what I want first. So I'm going to pick this one. And I'm going to pick the one that points in. Now it wants the shape. I'm going to pick this. Hit enter. And now it wants you to, for some reason, come all the way around. All right, once you're done, right now, we're going to click enter. And right now, closed sweep is grayed off, unfortunately, but we can cap it after the fact. So I'm going to click OK. Now we've got this footing shape, and now I can just type cap. So I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to type move again, or actually I'm going to type copy. And make sure midpoint is checked. I'm going to find the midpoint here, and come to the midpoint here, and come to the midpoint here. All right, now we have all three of those done. Next thing, and great, they did not cap. So I'm going to cap them. Cap. And now let me just check my so yeah, it's a closed poly surface. Great. All right, I'm going to bring back, I'm going to go to my layers. I'm going to turn my main floor back on. And I'm going to turn my plan back on because if you remember, I kind of went the opposite direction here. So I'm going to fix that. I'm going to fix that by doing a separate shape where I want to cut it. Let me turn on grids. Not that that does me a lot of good. So I'm going to do a polyline. It's not letting me do a polyline. That's great. Here we go. It'll let me snap to here. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to roughly follow this shape. And just close it up. Now I'm going to make a planar surface out of this. And now I'm just going to copy it up so that I have the same shape up here. I guess I can wait until it's an extrusion to do that. So I'm going to say extrude surface, pick this surface. And now I'm going to double click this again so I can make sure from another view that it's actually going through where we want. So I'm going to click enter and let me try it from now. Let's try this view. There we go. So now I'm going to come through and now I'm going to just make sure I go all the way through. I'm going to do scale 1D so that it only goes up and down. Now I can take this and I can copy it over. Click the poly surface. I'm going to say copy. I'm going to come from here, going along this line until I get to this edge. I'm going to double check, make sure that it's where I want. And now it's dropped down because of what it snapped to. I can just move it up again as long as we're through the floor. Alright, and now I'm going to do Boolean difference. First I'm going to click somewhere else. Now it's saying what are we subtracting from? And I am subtracting from our floor. The poly surface. I'm going to click enter. And now I'm saying delete cutters yes. And now I'm going to click our cutters. 1 and 2. And this still shows up, but it's just the surface. The poly surface is moved. So this surface is still here, but it's not the 3D. I'm going to delete it. These curves are still here. And it did not seem to work on this side, so let me Control Z that, and I'll do it again over here. Oh wait, maybe it actually did. Let me double check. Yeah, it actually did work. Alright, so let me just pick the surface. We don't need it anymore. We have our main thing. I can delete these. And what is this? This is some lines. Yeah, those of ours also serve their purpose. So now in my floor, it's got a more accurate opening. So looking at the instructions, it kind of has you do these floors from plan view first, and I ran into issues trying it this way. So I kind of reversed engineered this a little. I'm actually going to start over here with these, because these are going to inform my decision on everything else. So you can see it's the duplicate face border and then an offset. So I'm going to type help if I had my home keys set up, duplicate face border. So I'm just going to pick this face. I'm going to say enter. And so now I have, and I'm on the wrong one. That's okay. Reference lines is fine. And so now I'm going to make one big line all the way across. And it doesn't really matter where yet. I'm going to move it in a minute. Oh. Alright, so now I'm going to use the offset. And it's going to be 1 foot. And I'm going to pick this curve and come in. So now before I start trimming, I'm going to move this line to the back edge here, because we want to get rid of all this stuff. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to type move, because this needs to be a very specific location that it snaps to. And I'm just going to come right here. And it looks like, yeah, it's all staying on the right level. It hasn't drifted up or down. So I got that set up. Now I'm going to type trim. And first is the cutting object, which is this nice big vertical line. I'm going to switch to this for now. That's the only thing we're cutting with right now. We're going to hit enter. But now I can get rid of all this. and this. And so now we're left with this portion. I'm gonna check somewhere else. I'm gonna just say enter, then I'm done. And I'm gonna type trim again. And now this time we're using these as the cutting objects. So I'm gonna click this curve, I'm gonna click this curve, and now I'm getting rid of all the parts of the green line we don't want. Oh, sorry, one click too happy there. I'm gonna hit enter. I'm gonna click here. Here. I don't want this anymore, or this, or this. Now I'm going to say done, click enter. I'm going to use the command join. I'm going to get the short guy, get this curve, and now I have one more over here to get. Alright, so that is my outline for my walls. I'm going to turn that into a planar surface. Click enter. And so I'm actually going to reassign this now. I'm going to get the surface. Actually, it'll be easier to see that way, but I'll switch to basement as the active. And now I want to come back in here to have another view. And since we haven't really established the floor yet, I want to make sure I'm going straight up and down. So this is one of the cases where I'm going to give it my best effort. We're recreating something. I don't want this drifting off into the nether regions of my model. So I'm going to rest it on the top of this floor visually. And now I'm going to say extrude. And I'm going to snap it here. So that does multiple things for us because there's a bit of an overlap between these two. So that tells me where this floor ends because there's a shared wall. But it also tells me where to create my floor. Because if I just did it based on the drawing, my floor would be nowhere near big enough. And if I did it based on this, where everything's kind of stopping inside, it wouldn't come flush with everything else. And then we'd have misalignment all over the place. So, alright, I've got that done. I'm going to open this up again. And this will be a little weird because I'm coming and working from underneath the building now. And let me pick surface. Yeah, we don't need that anymore. It's done its job. So I'm just going to make a rectangle. I'm going to start on this corner. Alright, so let me click on that, make sure it's where I want. Yep. So now I can say planar surface. Now I can say extrude surface. Now it's saying which surface, so I gotta click it again. And now I gotta get my mouse on this window. And I'm gonna eyeball this. So you can see even within this we have different thicknesses of floors. So this is a visual reference. And we're gonna do our best. So now I can come back in my plan view and I can think about this next one. I want it to line up with the edge of this because this is where our opening is going to be. So actually I'm going to start with just a polyline. And I'm going to come to the edge of the floor because now we know that's where it belongs. But right now I'm going to stop here And I'll show you a trick to move that over in just a minute. And as long as you have snapping on, now this tells me I'm perpendicular. And I'm going to hit enter, and I'm just going to click extend. So the boundary object is going to be this line here. Oh, it's doing the whole curve. Never mind. But what I can do, rather than have it be segmented, is I can make sure I grab just this control point, come down to the end. And that takes a minute to get used to. Alright, so here's the trick. We know we have a 1 foot thick wall here and we've got some overlap. If I hold Control Shift and I make sure I'm not on that wall, but I'm just on the line, which will be a whole lot easier to do from here. So I'm going to hold Control Shift, click this, and now, that's a bummer since I did it from this view. I'm going to double click this to reorient it. Alright, and now that it's correctly oriented, I'm just going to click move, and I'm going to type 1 foot. So now I'll have what I'm looking for. I want to make sure in 3D that it's all on one plane. Yes, it is. So I'm going to do offset again. I'm going to click this, come in, planar surface. Click both curves. Click enter. And again, I'm going to highlight this as the surface, and I'm going to use my best judgment here rather than try and snap, because snap is likely to send this off into a different part of the project. And again, we're kind of freeforming this based on the drawing a little. So that's good where that is. Now I'm going to do one more. Actually, no. Yeah, so I'm going to delete this. Delete this so they don't get me in trouble later. And I'm going to say extrude surface. And it's going to ask me which surface. I'm going to pick this one. Say enter. And now these walls just go up to the bottom. There's a bunch of other walls that overlap and cut through the building that you can see in section here. But these main outer ones stay in the basement. So now, same thing with over here. Now I can come in from underneath, draw a floor, drag it down. So let's do that first. I'm going to come in here. And draw a rectangle. And you can see we got this weird gap here. We'll have to address that at some point. Why is this? This is not the view to do this in. Here we go. So that's the other end. Now I can can say planar surface again. Not plan, planar surface. No, let me redo that. All right. And now this is being funky because of that command. That's all right. I'll find it over here. I'll say planar surface. And I'll come to this corner, make sure I click curve, hit enter. Now I'll say extrude surface. And I'll pick this surface, the one that's the whole wall. You can see that's the wall, this is the whole floor. Hit enter. And now I'm going to just base my thickness on this drawing. Alright, I'm going to pause this while I figure out how to unlock this perspective now that it's Alright, so if this ever happens to you where you accidentally hit plan, just come up here, type 4view, hit enter, and now everything's reset, and now I can go back to working the way I want. Alright, so I've got this and this. I'm going to go ahead and crank this one out while we're here. And then we'll come back and do all the multiple interior overlapping walls. So I'm going to come into top view. And this one, there's actually a gap. So I'm going to stop it on this side, and you can see even in this view here, there's a gap in between. So I'm just going to make another rectangle. And let me double check how far over we're going. Oh, wrong one. So yeah, just up to here. It's not going to be quite as far. You can see it doesn't quite reach there. So if you want to go a little past, visually, that's fine as well. And if you really want to be accurate, you can draw your floor from this view and then extrude it out. So let's try that actually. So I'm going to say rectangle. Now where it starts to get fuzzy, I'm going to assume that's not actually wall. Now I'm going to say planar surface. Hit enter. And now I have no idea where this is in the project. So I got to come back here. I'm going to highlight it. And it's right here. I'm going to type move. And you can see it snaps up to this now, which is unfortunate. But now that I have it in the right place, again, we're not snapping to anything, so right now is an okay time for Gumball. When you're trying to snap to existing geometry, not as much. Alright, so now I'm going to say extrude surface. and I'm gonna snap it all the way to this end. Great. And so now we're doing it the opposite way, right? We made our floor, and now we're going to do something similar to here, where we're going to say duplicate face borders. So let me hide my main floor for a minute. Let me hide my plan for a minute. Duplicate face border. This is my face. Okay. Now I'm going to say offset, and I'm going to come in by a foot. Now planar surface. Oh no, let me undo that one. Alright, so now let me type planar surface. I'm going to click this curve and the actual curve here. Alright, now I can highlight it and say extrude. Oh, now it wants me to pick again. And now again, I need to turn floor back on. I snapped floor. So a lot of same process, but again, I'm going out of order from instructions because for my brain, that makes more sense. All right, now we need to deal with these multiple interior walls. So we got one big one that comes around, and then we got another rectangular one for the elevators, and then another rectangular one for the stairwell. The first one I do is what I'm going to use to cut the floor. So I'm going to come into polyline, and I want to make sure I'm snapping from this inside one because these ones already go up to the bottom of the basement, and we need to go higher than that. So I have to overlap, and we can use Boolean union later. But for right now, I'm going to trace the outside. And that might not be lined up. I should have, let me Control Z this one. So what I can do to make sure they're in the same place, just like we did with the stairs, is make sure I have point turned on. And now it's got a perpendicular intersection, not interception, we're not playing football. Now all the way past to this line, and then close it up. Now we're back to offset. I'm going to bring them in. Planar surface. I'm going to click here and here. And now I'm going to pick that surface. Well, no, that was the entire floor. I'm going to pick just this surface. I'm going to see where it is in here. So this is one of those things, even though you might think, I need to snap this to the floor, we can use Boolean union. So even if it's buried in the floor, we can join it. And so now I'm going to extrude surface, and I'm going to bring it up here based on the pick. Maybe to the edge of the dark here. All right, now this is the one we're going to use to cut the hole. And we'll probably have to make another small floor in here afterwards, and we still have to come back and cut out this stairwell. But trying to cut the hole first and then line everything up afterwards just creates an opportunity for more problems. So I'm going to say Boolean difference. It's going to say, what are you cutting from? I'm going to say the floor. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to change delete cutters to no, because I really don't want to lose all this stuff we just made. And now I'm going to pick this wall, say enter. And you're like, what just happened? Well, this bit's still here. That's okay. We can delete it. Like I said, there's a small room over here. Whether you model that and put that floor back in later, I'm just going to delete it for now. And so now we've got this nice opening. I'll make another shape here, and I'll do that void, but not until I'm done with all this. So now we've got two more overlapping ones. Well, first let's, so we got this one, and then we got this one, and they go to different heights. So this one right here is our elevator shaft, and this one here is our stairwell. So I'm going to come back in to Polyline, and again, we need to go all the way through. And I'm just going to come all the way to the end here. I'm going to snap to this. And don't worry about all the overlapping. We'll use join later, and if you still see any lines, it's probably a curve that you can delete. I'm going to say offset. Going to bring it in a foot. Planar surface. Enter. And so now these are all the way up here. I'm going to do the same thing once I'm done with the other one. I'm just going to move them down, embed them into the floor, and use Boolean join later. Because if I move these down, it's going to snap to something else. Alright, so I'm going to do another polyline. I'm going to start from here. I'm going to do another offset. Another planar surface. Alright, we're so close. So I'm going to pick first this one. Say surface. And now from this view, I'm just going to move it down. And I'm going to zoom in and make sure I'm at least inside of the floor. Now I'm going to say extrude. And I'm going to come up to the same place as the other one. I don't really need these lines anymore. If I come to if I come to this curve, that's just going to be showing later. This curve is going to be showing later. But you could save cleanup for later if you want. I'm going to click this surface. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start by getting it below. And this is another one where we're using, oh, look at that. Pretty good guess. We're going to create a floor underneath this. So I'm just going to kind of put it here. I'm going to say extrude. I'm going to snap it to the top like the rest. And now this Curve can go. This curve can. All right. I'm going to come underneath again. I'm gonna just try polyline this time because rectangle's been kind of a pain with the orientation. And now I'm going to say planar surface. I'm going to pick that curve I just made. Click enter. Now I'm going to click on it, say extrude surface. And whoa. I'm going to come down here. Alright. So that is everything we were trying to accomplish for the homework. As far as how this will look later, I'll just show you. If we get rid of a few things and I start doing some Boolean joins, I could say join, click this, polysurface, and this, which polysurface am I trying to get? Oh, that's not going to work. Let me undo this one because this is its own thing. I'll click enter. And now, now what's left is this curve and this surface. Oh, that's weird. Maybe because they weren't actually intersecting. One was on top of the other. But yeah, you're going to want to clean up a lot of this stuff so it's not visible in your model. If I come to rendered view, yeah, we just have a little bit of work to do. Oh, what the heck happened here? I might have to fix that. All right, that is the homework. We'll pick up from here in class.